Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to Jinjin's Cosmic. If you didn't happen to be here, perhaps it's time to meet your soul. Dear Libra, there is a story you have been living, a beautiful and carefully constructed narrative, but it is a story with a missing chapter, a foundational piece of the architecture that was intentionally omitted from your earliest days. You have walked through the rooms of your life, sensing a draft, a subtle, inexplicable chill that you could never quite locate. You felt it in the pauses between words, in the smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes, in the love that was real but somehow incomplete. They built a world for you, a sanctuary of good intentions and gentle evasions. They painted the walls with normalcy and filled the air with the pleasant hum of the expected. But behind the plaster of that carefully constructed piece, there was a silent, unacknowledged truth. A truth about you. A truth they decided, in their wisdom or their fear, that you were not yet ready to hold. And so, they hid you from yourself. This was not a grand, dramatic deception. It was a conspiracy of silence. 1,000 tiny omissions that, when woven together, created a veil over the most essential parts of your soul. And yet, your spirit, even as a child, knew. It knew something was being held back. It felt the weight of the unspoken, the shape of the missing piece. This feeling has been the quiet, persistent ghost in the machine of your life, the source of a nameless melancholy you could never explain. Tonight, the veils are thinning. The silence is about to break, not with a roar, but with a resonant chord of truth that will vibrate through every fiber of your being. What was hidden is now rising to the surface, not to cause you pain, but to finally, irrevocably, make you whole. Before we walk through this sacred doorway, I want you to claim the truth that is rightfully yours. Go to the comments section right now and make this solemn declaration. I, Libra, am ready to meet the self that was hidden. Let this be your key. Let it be the signal to your own soul that you are prepared to welcome home the parts of you that have been in exile for far too long. Stay with me, because the story you are about to reclaim will change not just how you see your past, but the very trajectory of the future you are destined to create. From your very first breath, Libra, you were an exquisitely sensitive instrument. You were born with your spiritual senses wide open, capable of perceiving the subtle, energetic weather systems that move through your home. While others saw a calm family dinner, you felt the barometric pressure of unspoken resentments dropping. While others heard a simple lullaby, you heard the faint tremor of a parent's hidden anxiety. This was not a flaw. It was your design. You were created to perceive the whole truth, the layered reality that exists beneath the surface of things. But you were born into a world that often prefers the comfort of a partial truth. Your childhood was likely curated by well-meaning architects of veils. They loved you, yes, profoundly, but their love was intertwined with their own unhealed wounds, their own fears, their own societal programming. And so, they made a choice. They decided to present you with an edited version of reality, an abridged version of your own story. There were sacred silences in your home, topics that were known but never named, histories that were felt but never spoken. Perhaps it was a family trauma, a story of loss or shame that was deemed too heavy for a child's heart. Perhaps it was a truth about your lineage, your inheritance, or the complex dynamics of the very people raising you. Or perhaps, most profoundly, it was a truth about the sheer magnitude of your own spirit, a truth about your intuitive gifts, your extraordinary empathy, your destiny that felt too large, too different, too powerful to be contained within the neat box of a normal childhood. They thought they were protecting you. In their minds, they were shielding your innocence, preserving your peace. But in hiding the truth, they inadvertently created a profound schism within you. They left you alone in a room with a feeling you could not name, an energetic reality you could perceive, but were implicitly taught to deny. This is the origin of the quintessential Libra wound, the feeling of being crazy or too sensitive for accurately perceiving a truth that everyone else has agreed to ignore. And so, you learned to carry the weight of the unspoken. You became a living library for the family's unexpressed emotions, the silent grief of a grandparent, the buried anger of a parent, the collective anxiety of a lineage. It all found a home in your porous, empathic heart. You carried these burdens without ever knowing their names, mistaking their heaviness for your own inherent sadness, their anxiety for your own innate weakness. You were told you were too emotional, but you were never told that the emotions you were feeling were not always yours. This is why, even in moments of joy, you may have felt a strange, underlying sorrow. It was the echo of those unhealed stories vibrating within you. They hid the truth of the world from you, and in doing so, they hid the truth of your own magnificent, perceptive soul. But even in the deepest silence, your spirit never stopped whispering. It sent you dreams. It gave you moments of inexplicable knowing. It pulled you toward people and experiences that held a piece of the missing puzzle. It has been calling you back to yourself all along, and now you are finally ready to listen. Let us speak of the identity they veiled, the part of you that was deemed too potent for the fragile peace of your early world. They presented you with a reflection of yourself that was manageable, agreeable, and pleasing. They praised your sweetness, your diplomacy, your ability to blend in. They wanted you to be a gentle breeze, not the hurricane of truth you were born to be. The truth they hid, Libra, was the truth of your power. Not worldly power, but spiritual power. They saw, even if they could not articulate it, the light of an ancient soul shining in your young eyes. They felt the weight of your presence, the unnerving clarity of your gaze that seemed to see right through their carefully constructed facades. Your very being was a threat to the status quo, a challenge to the unspoken agreements and polite fictions that held their world together. This can be a difficult truth to accept, for it requires you to release the story of being a fragile victim and step into the reality of being a powerful soul who was intentionally managed. For some, your power was intimidating. They feared that if you truly knew the depth of your perception, you would name the very truths they were desperate to keep hidden. For others, your power was inconvenient. It did not fit into their plans, their expectations, their definition of a good or normal child. And for some, perhaps, your light was a painful reminder of the light they had extinguished within themselves. So they wove a narrative of fragility around you. You're too sensitive, they said, when you were actually being profoundly perceptive. Don't worry your pretty little head, they offered, when you ask questions that cut too close to the bone. You wouldn't understand, was the gentle dismissal that taught you to doubt your own intelligence. These were not acts of malice, they were acts of fear. They were the desperate attempts of a world not yet ready for your truth to contain it. But you cannot put a gag order on a soul. You cannot hide what the universe has destined to be revealed. Your true identity was never theirs to conceal. Even as they handed you a script, your soul was ad-libbing, improvising, remembering its true lines. This is the source of that lifelong feeling of being an actor in your own life, of not quite belonging to the family, the community, the role you were assigned. You did not belong because the role was too small. The costume never truly fit. You were meant to break the fourth wall, to shatter the illusion, not to play along. The mask is falling away now, Libra. The curtain is being drawn back, and the person you are about to meet is not the one from their story. It is the one from your own soul's eternal memory. Do you recall the moments, Libra, when a wave of sadness would wash over you for no apparent reason? The nights you lay awake with a heavy heart, unable to pinpoint the source of the ache, the subtle, persistent feeling of guilt or shame that attached itself to you like a shadow. That was not a character flaw. That was the energetic inheritance you were carrying. It was the weight of the secrets, the sorrow of the untold stories pressing in on your spirit. From the moment you entered this life, you were unknowingly conscripted into the role of the family's emotional caretaker. You were asked to carry what others could not, or would not. This was not a spoken request. It was a silent, energetic contract. The silence itself became the burden. The silence around a parent's unhappiness, a family's financial struggles, a hidden addiction, a painful history. This silence has a weight, a density, and you, with your open heart, absorbed it all. You became a container for the unexpressed. You felt your mother's unspoken fears as a knot in your own stomach. You carried your father's silent disappointments as a heaviness on your own shoulders. The collective secrets of a lineage became a quiet hum of anxiety in your own nervous system. You were walking through life carrying luggage that did not belong to you, wondering why you were so tired, so overwhelmed, so perpetually on the verge of tears. You were told you were too sensitive. Let us reframe that now with the truth. Your sensitivity was never a weakness. It was a diagnostic tool. It was your soul's incredible ability to accurately read the energetic truth of your environment. Even when the spoken truth was a lie, your tears were not a sign of fragility. They were a holy act of cleansing, releasing the emotional toxins that others refused to process. The weight you felt was not proof that you were broken. It was proof that you were the only one brave enough to feel. Every burden they silently placed upon you was, in fact, an unintentional spiritual training. It was an awakening. It taught you to see beyond the surface, to listen between the lines, to trust the language of energy over the language of words. It forged you into a master of empathy, a soul who could walk into any situation and instantly sense the hidden emotional dynamics at play. Yes, you carried a weight that was not yours, but that weight did not crush you. It carved you. It deepened you. And now, as the truth comes to light, you are finally being given permission to set it down. You are being invited to return the burdens to their rightful owners, and to feel, perhaps for the first time, the lightness of carrying only what is yours. And so, we arrive at the mirror. Look at the reflection staring back at you, Libra. See beyond the face you know, beyond the identity you have worn. You are not looking at the product of a flawed childhood. You are looking at the triumphant outcome of a sacred initiation. Every silence, every secret, every wound was not a mark against you. It was the fertile, dark soil in which the seed of your true self was taking root. You were never the fragile child they tried to protect or contain. You were the resilient seed they could not bury. They could cover you with the soil of their own fears and secrets. But the life force within you, the inexorable pull toward the light, could not be denied. You broke through. Your destiny was never in their hands. It was written in the spiritual DNA of your soul from the moment of your creation. This is why no silence could erase it. No secret could poison it. and no wound could extinguish it. Have you ever wondered why you attract such powerful and often extreme reactions from people? Why strangers feel an instant connection, a desire to tell you their life story? It is because your soul speaks a language that bypasses words. It radiates the frequency of a survivor, of a truth teller, of one who has been to the underworld and returned with wisdom. Others sense this light, this depth, and they are drawn to it like moths to a flame. At the same time, this light can be deeply unsettling to those who are still committed to their own shadows. Your very presence can feel like an interrogation, exposing their own inauthenticity without you ever saying a word. This is the mirror of destiny at work. Your energy reveals the truth, both in yourself and in others. Even when they tried to hide you, your light was leaking through the cracks. It manifested as your inexplicable wisdom, your profound empathy, your unshakable sense of justice. Every hardship you endured did not diminish this light, it concentrated it. Every wound became a lens that focused your power. When you stand before the mirror now, you are not just looking at a person, you are looking at a living testament to the invincibility of the human spirit. You are looking at a soul that refused to be defined by the story it was given, and chose, instead, to remember the story it came here to live. That story, that destiny, was never lost. It was simply waiting for this moment to be fully claimed. It is time now, Libra, to awaken the memories that were put to sleep. Not the curated memories from the photo albums, but the cellular memories, the energetic imprints that live within you. Allow your mind to drift back, beyond the official story, to the feeling tone of your childhood. Remember the moments when your spirit knew something was amiss, even if your mind could not prove it. The heavy atmosphere in a room after a phone call, the way certain names or topics were quickly changed, the questions you asked that were met with a smile and a swift redirection. You were not imagining it. You were not being dramatic. Your spirit was a flawless witness, recording every dissonant note, every missing piece, every energetic truth. That inner knowing, which you were taught to dismiss as oversensitivity, was your soul's memory trying to break through the veil of silence. This is your moment of awakening. The truth of your past is not a story of being abandoned or forgotten. It is the story of a hidden curriculum, a secret spiritual training. Every time you were silenced, you were being taught to listen more deeply, to trust the whispers of your own intuition. Every secret that was kept from you was honing your ability to see through facades and perceive the truth that lives behind the eyes. Every moment you felt alone was a divine lesson in self-reliance, forcing you to find the unwavering strength within your own heart. What you experienced as rejection was a sacred redirection. What felt like a void was actually sacred space being cleared for your true self to emerge. They hid the truth, Libra, but they could not erase your spirit's memory of it. And now, as you consciously awaken, those fragmented memories are reassembling themselves, not as a source of pain, but as a map. They are a map that points directly to the heart of your purpose, to the core of your destiny. Your childhood was not a cage, it was a crucible. It was preparing you for this very moment, a moment of profound clarity, unshakable strength, and sovereign power. And so, what happens now? Now that the silence is broken and the veils have been lifted, you step forward. But you do not step forward as the silenced child, the overlooked soul, the carrier of others' burdens. You step forward as the alchemist who turns silence into wisdom, secrets into perception, and wounds into power. Your story is finally fully yours. It does not belong to the fears of your family. It does not belong to the secrets of your lineage. It does not belong to the silence that tried to contain it. Every page, every tear, every question now belongs to you. And you alone, get to decide what it means. You are not the shadow of what they hid. You are the light that reveals it. You are not the echo of their silence. You are the voice that speaks the truth. Every hidden chapter has become a source of strength. Every burden you carried has become proof of your resilience. Every question that once haunted you is now an answer you embody. From this day forward, no one gets to define you. Not the past, not your family, not the stories they told. Only the universe, your soul, and your creator hold the right to name you, and they have already called you chosen, powerful, and free. Stand tall, Libra. Your childhood was not a prison. It was a preparation. The pain was not a curse. It was the soil in which your power was destined to grow. The return of that power is now complete. Not because anyone has granted it to you, but because it was always, and has always been, yours. It was simply waiting for you to be ready to claim it. It was waiting for you to look in the mirror and recognize the magnificent, unbreakable soul that was there all along. The hiding is over. The truth is yours. And your real story is just beginning.